Good morning, and thank you so much for coming and watching my episode number 2 of Saturday Morning Makes. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and share with you the projects that I used in making these projects I'm going to share today. So I used this Diana Markham witch stamp. So fun. I used this Diana Markham witchy, screamy, happy Halloweeny stamp. Still finishing up my Halloween projects, but that's okay. There's no timeline in crafting, right? And then these are just some variations of some of the ones that I stamped and colored, as well as this cute little guy. So anyway, I used those 2 stamps. I used some Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend for coloring a little bit of the face. I used some of this Tim Holtz trimmings that I've had in my stash for a while. I used this stamp. I used the spider web and the spider, and this was a Tim Holtz stamp that I had in my stash as well. I used some of these wood planks from the Dollar Tree. I used just some regular chipboard. Use some archival ink, black. And let me share the distress crayons that I use. This is what I mainly use for my coloring, okay? So I use some Twisted Citron, some spun sugar, vintage photo, crackling campfire, mustard seed, wilted violet, antique linen, black soot. I also used 3 of the mica distress stains. I used the Hocus Pocus, flickering candle, and bubbling cauldron. In addition, I used this Distress Collage Medium, tongue twister, Distress Collage Medium, the matte, as well as this Distress Embossing Dauber. And I didn't get it out, but I just used a black embossing powder. I used some of this Perfect Pearls, and this is actually Perfect Pearl color, Perfect Pearl powder, I guess is what you call it. I also went back to this line, which is something new I picked up this season. This is Graphic 45 Midnight Tales paper, and I used the spider web. Okay. So I believe that's it for this first project. Let me go ahead and get to sharing. So I played around a little bit and colored some extra witches just to get, you know, some of the coloring down. But it's like I like the watercolor technique. So this is the project that I created. It's a hanging piece of decor, I guess, if you want to call it. So I took the wood plank, which is the main piece here, and I covered it with paper on the back. And then I put a coat of the collage medium over the piece of wood before I sprayed it. And then I sprayed it with the Distress Mica sprays to give it the color. I stamped embossing, used the embossing dauber and stamped my spider web here and then embossed it, then stamped the spider. The spider's hard to see, but he's there. He's right here. He's just kind of blending in and hard to see him. And then I embossed those things in the black. Okay, and then I just stamped her on some watercolor paper, and then I just colored away. Okay, I used all those distress crayons that I showed you to give her the color. Okay, and then same thing here. I stamped the saying and cut it out and matted it on the black spider web paper from Graphic 45, and then glued it down to a piece of chipboard, which is the back. And then I hung it there, and then I just kind of finished it off with some buttons to hide the you know, the hanging, but I saw this from a crafty share from somebody else, and I like that technique. So anyway, that's my project. She's going to get packed away with my Halloween stuff for next year so I can get her out and enjoy her in my craft room and draw inspiration from her or in part of my decor in the house. So anyway, I thought she was super cute, and it's a good way to use one of those fun little Diana Markham stamps that we have sitting around. So I really thought she turned out cute, and I wanted to share her with you. For my next project, I used some Martha Stewart tinsel glitter. Had this in my stash for a long time. I've used a couple of Halloween-inspired wood chips. I used some black onyx liquid pearls. I used a Distress crayon black soot. I used some Prima flowers. And I use pieces of paper strips from the Frank Garcia 31 collection. I wish I would have got more of this paper because this collection sold out so fast, and you can't get it anywhere. But at least I can say I have this, and I certainly will cherish it, and I had so much fun using it. So let me go ahead and get to sharing the project that I created. Oh, and of course, I used the Dollar Tree pumpkin. And these are those wood-shaped shapes that everybody is collecting in all the different shapes. And this one is the pumpkin shape. So I drew inspiration from Anna White. Anna, if you're watching, hello, happy Saturday to you. And thank you for inspiring me. Those of us that have been following along on these YouTube videos, I'm sure have seen these projects around, inspired by Anna. So took the strips of paper and picked some papers from the 31 line and cut the strips, and then glued them down. And I used the sewing wheel to give it the stitching. Again, something that Anna White shared. And then I used the wood chips and I painted them with the Distress crayon, or colored them. And then I used this tinsel to cover the spider web and give it a little bit of texture and shine. And this is a fun little button from my crafty stash, and I just love how big and bulky that is on the spider's tush. This is just some ribbon from my stash as well, and some lace, and then there's the flowers. So I also distressed the outside with some vintage photo. So, and then on the back, this is painted with folk art, and this color is seashell pink. So that's my crafty share, and I just think that this turned out so adorable. I made a few for some friends, and this was one that I made for myself. And again, this will get packed away with my Halloween stuff, and I'll pull it out next year and use it in my decor. Oh, and these are the little dots I dotted with the liquid pearls, and I put them on in the centers of the circles. Okay, and then I used a little bit of these perfect pearls and the color Perfect Pearl, and I just went over using a brush, like a dry paintbrush, and I just went over it to give it a little bit of shine. I think you can see it a little bit. I did that on all of my projects, on the two projects. I also did it here. I know that a lot of people use the spray glitter, and I have yet to get some of that in my stash. So right now I'm using my Perfect Pearls, which actually work really well. Just kind of go over it, and it gives a little bit of shine. So anyway, that's how I use that, and that's my crafty share number 2. The projects I used for my third crafty share are this folk art Sky Mist, Minted Aqua, in Seashell Pink. I used some Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree. I used this flower sprig from Joann's. Specifically, I used the pumpkins. I used some ribbon, and I used some vintage photo. This seam binding ribbon was like an off-white, and I colorized it using the vintage photo. So that's how I got that. And then I also used, I'll show you my projects and then I'll tell you how I went about doing it. So I made these cute little shabby chic Dollar Tree inspired pumpkins projects that have been going around for quite a while now. I made some shabby chic ones. So this is the mint color, that's the seashell pink color, and then here is the sky mist color. Okay, so what I did was, I couldn't find the little wood pieces at the Dollar Tree. I searched high and low and I couldn't find them anywhere. And so I went to Joann's and I found a strip of wood that was the same dimension, width-wise, but not obviously height. And I had to cut them down to about 1 3/4 a piece, okay, using my chop saw. And so I cut them down, and then I used the hot glue gun and glued the 6 pieces together. So that's how I was able to kind of, copy the wood pieces that you would get already cut in the packages in the Crafters Square section of Dollar Tree. But I think they're a hot commodity this time of year, or for some reason they're not able to restock them right now. I know some people are using game pieces, the Jenga game pieces and things like that, but I wanted them to be a certain size. So, okay. So that's what I did. So the ribbon, the bow, is using the seam binding ribbon that I colorized using the distress photo, and I just made a little bow and glued her on there after I put these the moss, the Spanish moss up here. Glued that on, and then for the stem, that's a stick. Okay. And for the pumpkins, hope you could see those okay. The pumpkins, I just pulled them off. So I saw these and I thought, oh, that would be really cute to use these in to reuse these in a project. So I pulled them off and I painted them. So these are some extras that I have here in the bag. So I painted them using the colors that I shared already. And then I glittered them up a little bit with some glitter. And then I just poked through using one of these. I just poked through it because it's a styrofoam. And then that way I could feed the ribbon, the tag, through and tie it on. So that's how I got that effect. So I just strung it through the twine on the ribbon, and then fussy cut a cute little pumpkin out, stamped a heart on the back, okay, or on the front, whatever you choose. And that's how I got that. So I think they turned out adorable for the shabby chic lovers out there. I have a couple of friends that are really into the shabby chic. I don't mind it, but I do like more of the traditional colors for Thanksgiving and also for Christmas, but I do like pastels and shabby chic a little bit. So I do venture out and craft, and also because I like to gift to friends and they like shabby chic. So I made some for them and gave them theirs already. And these are the ones that I created for myself. So those are my projects for Saturday Morning Makes, episode number 2. Thank you so much for joining me for my second episode. I'm still getting used to the camera, talking, sharing, but I just wanted to make sure I shared my art with you. And thank you so much, Jill, for inspiring me to share my projects, to get creative, to use my crafty stash and just create. I can't thank you enough, and I can't thank the Saturday Morning Makes community enough for that. So again, thank you very much. Have a blessed Saturday and a wonderful weekend ahead, and thanks for joining me.